Okay.
Putting it on other people, I once heard that it's only about yourself. You have to look about karma only about yourself, not about other people, and also not about the past. But the main
future.
idea is about the action that you do now.
Yes, yes.
Not like...
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And I disagree with some of the idea.
Yeah, I do too, by the way. I didn't have the time to say that yet.
No, what I wanted to say is that I do understand this, and I do believe that what I do will affect, and I do believe that what I did affected what happens to me right now. But I don't think that the opposite. That everything that happens to me is
a result of actions you've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean...
Where do you draw the line?
Well, I think that sometimes you punch me, okay, and this is your issue, and I'm affected by it, but this is not mine.
Well, he creates a karma in that moment when he beats you up, okay?
Yes.
Like, he beats me up,
Yes.
okay? So, does he create the karma to be beaten up? Absolutely. Absolutely he does, so please don't beat me up. If he starts beating me up, if I don't have the karma to be beaten up, somehow he may not be able...
Choose somebody else.
You choose somebody else, but he'll still experience the karma. But if I have the karma and it gets triggered in that moment to be beaten up, well, I'll be beaten
that's what I disagree. It's okay.
Okay, all right, yeah, never mind.
I mean, maybe.
So the karma to get a headache, if no one creates the headache, that's still your karma, right? If you get a headache suddenly, so without me hitting you over the head, you get a headache, right?
Yes.
Suddenly you get a headache, that's your karma.
Yes.
If I take a stick, but I take a stick and I hit you over the head, that is the experience of the headache is not your karma. I'm just wondering. So when you just suddenly have, let's say you have a headache at 3 o'clock. One is caused by a virus. Okay, a virus, I don't know whether that's a sentient being or not, but a virus in your body causes you to have a headache at 3 o'clock. Is that your karma?
Not necessarily. Not everything that happens to me is a result of something.
So are there some headaches? Let me just debate with you. So are there some headaches which are the result of your karma? Which headache is the result of your karma and which one isn't?
Okay, if let's say I did something that I felt really bad about. And
in this lifetime?
Yes.
Okay. It has to be in this lifetime.
You know, let's not open all these subjects. But for... Okay, let's say in this...
Headaches. Let's keep with headaches. Right?
Yeah, so I did something very bad.
Yeah.
Never mind if it was last life or this life. And I feel very bad about it. And the next day I have a headache. This I know. This is an example for an headache that is a result of something I did.
Okay. So maybe you helped your neighbor. You helped your neighbor and you work very hard for them out of the most positive motivation and you get a headache.
Yes, sometimes that can happen.
So a positive action can lead to a headache.
No, I didn't say that. I said that sometimes...
Okay, no. Let me give the example. Sorry, I'm just debating. I'm sorry. I'm so trained in that way. So you do something totally sincerely. You save your neighbor's life. You go into the house, you take them out of the fire or whatever, you save your life. You're a hero. And you get a headache. That headache, is that a karmic result or not? You haven't done anything negative, but it's a result of, it was triggered by the saving in the other person's life. Is that headache a result of a positive action, a negative action, or just coincidence?
It can be a result of a negative action.
Okay, what was the negative act?
Maybe I did something else. You know, you said yourself there's not one karma, you know?
Good, very good. Okay, so you did something else, but it has to have to be in this lifetime?
I don't know.
Could it be in the last life?
Yeah.
Okay, it could be the ripening. So, an action in a past life caused you to have a headache even after you, and a condition, a cooperative cause, was the fact you inhaled smoke. But the fact you got a headache, that you experienced that pain, also goes back to the karma of the past, right? You could agree to that. Accumulated in the past life. If that's the case, why is like a headache you get at 3 o'clock today, and it's not caused by you doing something negative in this lifetime? What is the main cause?
The main cause is someone else's karma, someone else's action. We are connected. Okay, so if and sometimes I'm influenced by other people's actions, good or bad. And
getting a headache. So if I talk really annoyingly,
sometimes there is. I don't think that everything. I mean, 100%. Sometimes things are happening and we don't deserve them, bad or good. Okay?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes the world is about justice and sometimes it isn't.
Yes.
Sometimes a peach tree gives rise to an apple tree and sometimes it gives rise to an orange tree.
No.
No? No, that doesn't happen. Okay. Sorry. No, there are the law of cause. I'm just kidding. No. Look, I see what you're saying. I know where this comes from, this idea that I actually have now a negative experience because someone said something that was really annoying. But you see, from a Buddhist point of view, it's a condition. It does serve as a cause, but it's not the main cause. We speak about main causes and secondary causes. Can the action of another person become the secondary cause of my suffering? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is why I still should remove the secondary causes, right? A secondary cause could be that someone hits me over the head. Or sits, So I should stop that secondary cause. But the underlying cause, if I haven't experienced, if I haven't created the karma for that, I wouldn't experience it. That's the kind of Buddhist idea. So maybe sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But since we don't know, let's better be careful. You see, the whole point we're talking about this is not to say it's like this and not like that and you better believe it, otherwise you're doomed. No, let's act accordingly.
No,
even if it's half true, it's still reason good enough to be careful.
I think it's anyway, it's good for you to think. Everything that happens to you, it's good for you to think.
Yeah, is it a secondary? I mean, in the end...
not to think about others. I think
wait. Even think about others.
Dangerous.
No. It can be dangerous, but it can also be dangerous when you do it to yourself. Okay? You can start self-hating. What I said early on, I said one question that always arises, which I want to clarify right from the beginning. To go and say, oh, that person suffers. It's their karma, right? I don't need to do anything. Whoa, that's not what it means. That is a total misperception of karma. Because we have more of a tendency to go, oh, I experience suffering, that's my karma. Oh, that's terrible, I need to do something about it. They experience suffering, well, it's their karma. Well, they deserve it. You see, we have that tendency already. We see ourselves as more important. I do. I have an innate sense. When it comes down to it, I'll save my own life. And I've given this example on several occasions before. I watched once a video of a love parade in Germany where people were not able, it was, 2005 or something, so quite a long time ago, when there was a love parade, like a gay parade, and people were all coming together, dancing on the street and so forth, and the government had made a mistake, and there was an entrance that was not properly secured, and people couldn't get out, and more people came, and people got trampled to death. I still remember the footage. And so there were some people, and there were young people, not just gay, anyone who wanted to have a party came to that place. And as people were trampled to death, you could see other people trying to save their life and walking over other people to save their life. And I was like, oh my God, while doing that, they may kill another person. First I was so shocked, and then I thought, oh my God, if I were them, when it comes down to on a subconscious level, it's almost like a subconscious level, I would do the same. I don't know. On a coarser level, I may think, no, this is not all right. I need to, but when it comes down to your own life, the sense of self-preservation is so strong. It's so strong. And this also comes from the self-cherishing attitude. So it's not like saying we're bad people. It's just naturally there. We misperceive how we exist, and that's the result. That's why in the end, how to really overcome the self-centered attitude is to get rid of the misperception. That's the only real way to go to a deeper level. So on a deepest level, we will self-preserve. And therefore, we have a tendency to see others as a little remote. And when they suffer, right, whether we think it's their karma or not, it's like, it's not my business. It's not my... So this is where the danger comes in. That you may feel, oh, it's their suffering. They suffer because it's their karma. Oh, they deserve it. It doesn't feel the same way for the self. So therefore it said, no. You should look at your own situation and go, be more accepting when problems arise. You see, sometimes the problem is not the problem. I'll worry about the problem. Oh my, why does this happen to me? Why to me? What did I do? The sense of like, why does this happen to me? How many often... So then it can be very soothing, and it can help the person to make a rational decision instead of being overwhelmed by these feelings, to go, okay, I must have created the actions of the past. You see, this feeling of being a victim, it's terrible. It's paralyzing. And you can't get out of it sometimes because you can't undo what has happened, and the perpetrator maybe is dead or they run away. So then to say, okay, whatever happened, a karma of the past has ripened, as it could do for anyone. And it just ripened for me. Okay, what can I do now? Past is past. How can I act now? How can I solve the situation? What is the remedy for me? Because things are not stuck. They're not permanent. They will change. And I can choose to now act differently. That's how to get out of it. So this is how it's effective for yourself. Don't ever say to someone, well, you experienced this problem because it's your karma. Oh, I mean, that's just terrible. You can't see. I when it happens to me, I think I try to. And this was also interesting at the time when I was in this situation. You know, it took me the longest time. I was like, this guy and these Tibetans and they are Buddhist, and always pointing finger at everyone else. Until one day I thought, karma. Now my experience is my karma. Nah, that must be something else. I'm actually a good person. I was born a feminist, so I can't be my karma. And then again, and I thought again and again, and then I thought, yeah, who knows? And suddenly I started seeing myself, well, maybe in the past I was this big guy. Somehow I always thought of this big guy, Oh, these women should not get an education, right? I thought, yeah, why not? Why was I not that person? What's so special about me that I could have not been this guy? Maybe I lived in some country where it was acceptable to put down women, and I was just this guy. I mean, I think of myself as a woman, but I was a man in a previous life, definitely. I was a man at some point, definitely. And I had a dislike for women, and I thought women should be cooking, and they should serve men. And, I mean, why would I not have that view? What's so special about me? I could have had that view. I had lots of wrong views just 20 years ago. I still have lots, but, I had lots of weird views 20 years ago, and all the time I have weird views. Why not having that view in a previous life? You know what I mean? So then I thought, and then I was like, okay, it's all right. It's not like I can blame everyone else. And it really gave me determination and courage when I thought, okay, I was probably some kind of macho in the past, and this is my experience now. And the funny thing is, I talked to other nuns about it, like my Tibetan friends. I said, isn't it terrible to be a woman? They're like, what are you talking about? You're okay. I said, but the discrimination. They said, we don't experience discrimination. And I was like, oh, okay. So everyone's experience is kind of different. I said, no, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't feel discriminated against. I feel I have total rights. So in the end, it's an experience we all have, right? And it was so empowering in that moment to feel, oh my God, I can do something. I can make changes. So in that moment, it helped me to think along myself. This is what you just mentioned about I myself. For me, it was very helpful. I'm never going to say to someone else, oh, it's your karma. Never. I can say that. You need to think that yourself. So this is where this is very important. But it can still be helpful. When you go and you feel, oh my God, it's Tibetans, what happens to this? This is so awful. Those bloody Chinese, they're so terrible. The poor Tibetans, it's like this kind of like, you feel this, it's so terrible. And you feel like the sense of injustice and like things don't make sense and you go desperate and you go, no. But it is the karma of the Tibetans, and it will, and they are the first to say that. And it will stop. Oh my God, how terrible the Chinese accumulate such terrible karma. So then instead of hatred towards the Chinese, you have compassion for the Chinese. And understanding, okay, it's terrible what happens to the Tibetans, but the good thing about negative karma is that at some point it will be exhausted, and it will not always be like that. So you see things much more balanced. Instead of total hatred for one side and see things as just totally negative, you have more of a balanced view. And reality is more balanced.
I have a question. We're talking about letting go anger and stuff like that, but a lot of times things that changes that happen in the world and change from good, like women's rights or black rights or whatever, they're driving from anger, the women were anger, so they went to the streets and the demanding
Good,
their
good.
rights. And
Very good, very good, very good. Okay, you're speaking about something. Anger. There's different types of anger. There's anger with another person. And there's anger towards an injustice. Which one do you think is worse? Anger towards a person. Anger towards His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He has a book called Beyond Religion. I think it's in the book Beyond Religion. His Holiness says, actually, anger towards an injustice, he's not really sure that's real anger.
But it still like makes you feel like negative feelings and like unsatisfied.
It's a mixture. It's a mixture. When it's anger towards perpetrators, that is it's a disturbing kind of anger. But an anger against injustice, so you want to harm the person. You see, the thing is like, look at, nothing is black and white. When you have anger, it keeps changing. Sometimes it's anger with the injustice. The anger with the injustice does not want to kill the injustice. How can you kill an injustice? It wants to just stop the injustice. That's good, right? It's kind of like, it's just not right. It's not like even, you call it anger, but it's not really an anger. It's kind of like a feeling, it shouldn't be that way. It's not like a feeling you want to destroy it. Whereas anger with a person is a wish to harm that person. So it's like, sometimes you're angry with a perpetrator. That is the type of mind that makes you unhappy. But if you have compassion for the perpetrator, and at the same time feel strongly this is wrong, you want to stop this injustice, that's okay. Because you don't harm anyone. You can't harm anyone. You can't harm an injustice. It's not that you can stop the injustice.
But it still influences your happiness. Like it still makes, like when I feel like injustice and stuff like that, so it still like makes me feeling unsatisfied, unhappy or stuff like that.
But that has different reasons. That's because, you see, I think people who have only an anger, what you call anger, or a strong dislike against an injustice, they feel more courageous. I need to do something.
Yeah.
They can actually face a crowd of people and say, don't kill this person. I remember there's a story of Indira Gandhi when she saw a person, I read her biography once. So there was a person who was an untouchable, like a Dalit person. He was being followed by a group of people who wanted to beat him up. And she somehow encountered it. I don't know exactly the circumstances. But she went in front of the crowd and said, if you want to do something to this Dalit person, first you beat me up. And she describes it in there, and I still remember because I had already started studying about Buddhism at that time, thinking that's an interesting anger, because she was not angry with the people. I mean, she said there was no hatred. She just spoke to them very strongly, but the injustice was not right, and it gave her such determination that she said she didn't think of her own life. She just stood in front of the people, and they calmed down. They were not going to beat up Indira Gandhi or a woman in general. So she was able to face the crowd with such courage. So that's when you can see that this anger is something. So as Hannes speaks about it in the sense like, if there's just this dislike of an injustice, that's okay. It's not really even anger. Yeah. But when you feel like, oh, but this is not right, and it shouldn't be like that, and there's no justice, well, that's just feeling like seeing perpetrators as like inherently bad, and the victims as inherently victims. And then that's like not really reality any longer. Things are not as black and white. We are wonderful at being black and white. We're such experts at seeing things as black and white, good and bad, right? I mean, I think the situation in Israel is a good example, right? It's like in the media sometimes the Palestinians are the bad guys and the Israelis are the good guys. You always need a good guy and a bad guy, otherwise people don't read the news. But it's ridiculous. It's not like that. It's much more complicated. This person makes a mistake. This person is very altruistic. This person makes a mistake, very altruistic. So it's like a mixture of all. People make lots of mistakes on both sides. There is no black and white as such. But racism is an expression of black and white. Right? I mean, if you talk about, what do you talk about a person of a certain race? Where's that race found in that person? It's just an idea. Black person, I don't know, terrorist, I don't know, Jewish person. It's just an idea. It's just a label we use, and then we clump everything together. Each person we use the same label for and believe there is some kind of, terroristness or Jewishness, or and we have usually a negativity, and we clamp it all together. Each person is different. Each person is individually different. You don't find these. Just the other day, someone asked me, while we were driving back from Yechiam, we always have the greatest talks. Every time I have a drive back and forth, we always have great talks. So that was a time when someone said, what do you mean we hold a grudge? And the person, why do we hold a grudge? It was all about, are we actually permanent or not, right? Are we permanent or not? And I said, no one is permanent. The self is impermanent. It changes all the time. We have a sense of permanence, but that's not true. And she said, well, when you are with someone, you have a partner, and yesterday he did something, and today he does exactly the same. He does exactly the same, or a week ago he acted like this, and this week he acts exactly the same. Aren't they permanent? And I said, wait a minute. You're saying he did exactly the same. Let's look at this again. If you made a movie of like 2 weeks ago, how this person reacted, and you make the movie of how they now reacted, is it exactly the same? And she's like, no, almost the same. Well, almost the same is not the same. Similar, yes, okay. But because we say he acts in an intolerant way. So 2 weeks ago, I called it he acted intolerantly. This week, I call it he acted intolerantly. Since in both cases I see he acted intolerantly, I'm saying they're the same. Because he acted intolerantly. Yeah, but the act was very different each time. It's individually very different. And just because I give it the same name, I now believe in some kind of intolerant action that is the same in both cases, because I've given the same name. What's your name?
Slil.
What?
Slil. It's hard to pronounce.
Slil.
Yeah.
Slil. That's sweet. Slil. I remember easier. Slil. So Slil, yesterday you were Slil, and today you're Slil. Oh, today she's Slil, yesterday she's Slil. She's the same, because she's Slil in both cases. Sleep. I'm getting better. Right? Silly? No, never mind. Yesterday is tech joke. I can say that. Today is tech joke. So it's tech joke. Same tech joke. Right? Yesterday he said hello. Today he says hello. Both times he says hello. Same. But yesterday he said shalom. Today he said tashidili. Right? Yesterday he said hey. Today he says hey. Different. You see, what we do is we use language to describe a situation when it's similar. We use the same word for it and believe it's the same. And that's what I said before with like holding a grudge. Right? I hold a grudge against Tekchok because Tekchok did something yesterday. He is called Tekchok and still he's called Tekchok. Same person. So actually holding a grudge, right? Holding something inside like for a year or for a week or however long. I'm not talking to him. Which means I think that the person who harmed me and him are the same person. In Tibetan it's called perceiving former Tekchok and Tekchok now to be one. To be identical. That's how it feels. Yeah? So what I'm saying is it's each and individually different. Each situation is actually quite different. So it's just in our mind, we create this reality which is not there. Giving names to things makes it easier. Of course, it's good to give names. I'm not blaming naming the problem. I'm not saying that. But what our mind automatically does, it gives a reality to that term. The term we use, and then it becomes, it kind of comes together. So anyway, your question was about injustice, about getting angry with injustice and getting angry with the person. It is different. Yeah. So, therefore, it's not really, I don't even call it anger. I don't think being angry, and one other thing is, when people say, well, anger is good because it gives us power. It gives us strength. That's the next thought I had. A lot of people say, well, it's natural to be angry. Nature has given us anger. Look at the people in the caves, when we were all in the caves, possibly. So when we lived, or whoever lived like thousands and millions of years ago in the cave, like when your family was in danger, you get angry. And when you get angry, the blood goes to your fists, right? Apparently when you have fear, the blood goes to your legs, so you can run away. If you get angry, His Holiness always speaks about this. Holiness the Dalai Lama often mentions this. He's talking as a result of his scientific understanding. So he says when you get angry, the blood goes to your fists, so you're ready to fight. Okay. Now, I ask you one question. If anger helps you to stop injustice, if it helps you to help other people, because it gives you power, are you believing that anger gives you more force or love gives you more force, gives you more energy?
Yeah.
So, actually, anger may give you some, power to do something, but afterwards you're very exhausted. Whereas love and compassion, for me the best example is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. His love and his compassion drive him like nothing else. Have you ever seen an 80-year-old man running around at the speed he does? Going from country to country all day long, giving audiences. I mean, his translators, they're like half his age, less than that, and they constantly change because they can't take the pressure. Or they take shifts, right? They take shifts. There's one that takes over. That time they have to take shifts. Why? Because all his bodyguards have to take shifts. It's one person, His Holiness. His Holiness has an energy, it's unbelievable. He can teach for 5 hours, then have 10 audiences, then do his prayers, all day long. I don't know whether he actually sleeps. I don't think he sleeps like us. Okay? So the point is here, the power of anger, yes. But the power of compassion, much better. Yeah? Look around. Sometimes people say, China is so powerful. It's so powerful. His Holiness is just one person. How famous His Holiness has become. They have a whole army of millions of soldiers, weapons, super powerful. And the Chinese government can't do anything to stop him. Isn't that amazing? He keeps going. It's the power of love and compassion. So, if we had no love and compassion, maybe anger would be the better thing to at least remove injustice. But the good thing is we have something better. We have something better. We have something greater than that, the power of love and compassion that is much more powerful to remove injustice, to remove suffering. Anger can only remove suffering short term. It can maybe stop a person, maybe you can stop someone in the moment and stop them. But then the problem may be that they get angrier and they won't get back at you. You see, this is also, we talk of short-term results. That's the other thing. In terms of short-term results, yes, anger can, in a short term, help us to stop a person. But then the person may want to take revenge. Yeah? So, therefore, what is the best way to destroy your enemy? Make him your friend. Make him your friend. That's the best way to destroy your enemy. So we may think killing your enemy is the best way, but then you have the whole family become your enemy. So instead of one enemy that's now gone, you maybe have the whole clan behind you. Whereas if you destroy him by making him your friend, you have a lot. Just not one friend, maybe his whole family becomes your friend. Win-win situation, right? Okay, yes.
I want to relate to what you said about that example you said about tuk-tuk.
Yes.
It is not the same, but we do have a tendency, and when I relate to what you just mentioned, when an abused wife is looking at the husband and saying, well, I know we can change, but he still abuses her. So
Still similar, yes, okay, that's true.
So she should try to figure out how to make him her friend, and
Okay, good question. An abused wife, should she make... Okay, so, am I saying that the abusing husband is always the same? No. He changes. But maybe not to the better. Right? I'm not saying, don't misunderstand me. I never said that people always change to the better. Or always to the... So, they're changing.
they have the potential.
But the tendency is still there. So sometimes the abuse is worse, sometimes it's less, but the abuse still takes place. Okay, that I agree with. What should she do? Should she hate him? I mean, maybe she can't help it, but seriously, her hatred is just going to make it worse, right? So should you stop the situation? Absolutely. May she have him punished? Absolutely. But with care and love in your